Hey everybody, it's November 27th, 2018, and tonight is the big night. According to the weather forecasters, it's supposed to be the official end to the growing season. Here in Leland, North Carolina, which is just immediately outside of Wilmington, we have yet to have our first freeze or frost. So I've brought most of my plants in that were in containers, but some things I just can't bring in, and one thing I really wanted to show you are my winter tomatoes and the little setup that I have going on there. So what I did here was, in order to protect my winter tomatoes, I erected a few 8-foot stakes, and then that is a frost blanket, and wrapped around my tomato cages are 3 100-foot incandescent light strands. These are just normal Christmas lights. They are 40 watts each, so this is the heat equivalent of a 120 watt bulb or 2 60 watt bulbs, keeping my tomatoes warm. So this is the southern wall of a brick house. You saw my weather station said it's 40.8 degrees out, but you can also see that the wall of my house is 47.8 degrees. So 47.9. So you can see that the brick holds in the heat. It's about 48 degrees depending on where you look. So that heat gets released all night. And the goal here is just to keep my plants a little bit warmer. I don't think you can accurately get a read. See, this is picking up the temperature of the frost blanket on the outside, but inside it should be substantially warmer, and I'd love to show you that, but I don't want to open it up and let any heat escape. So what I want to do is, assuming that it does freeze or frost tonight, I want to come out right at about sunrise and see if there is frost on my frost blanket, and then after that, after it warms up significantly above freezing in the morning, I want to see if my tomatoes survive. And here, I know it's pretty hard to see, but this was my winter storage tomato. I'm leaving this outside and uncovered as sort of a sacrificial lamb to see if it gets killed. There's actually nice flowers all over the tomato. I know it's really hard to see. There's still little fruits on here. It's doing well, but the quality of the fruit is truly terrible, and I'm never going to grow this again, so I don't really mind if it gets outright killed. But I'm going to use this as a barometer of sorts to see what kind of damage tonight's freeze will do. Well, here are the final results. It's 28 degrees right now. We had a minimum of 27. About 10 minutes ago it was 27.5, so it's finally rising. The sun is up, but my backyard is still completely shaded. It hasn't made it over the house yet. Well, oddly enough, despite it being a hard freeze, it never frosted. And what's really strange is my parents up in New Jersey, where they live, it's 36 degrees. It never froze there, but it's 28 degrees as far south as Tallahassee, and even below. So, yeah, very strange. It has all the conditions for frost. It is completely clear. So clear you can see the moon. It's fairly calm. There is a very light breeze. There's no frost on this tomato, but it's pretty crispy, so I think it's probably going to get burnt unless this house is keeping it warm enough. And I'm definitely not going to remove this frost cover until we're well above freezing. I want to wait until we get to about 40 degrees, and then we'll survey the damage. It's taken us all the way till noon, but it's finally 41 degrees, and I can uncover my plants. So this is the winter storage tomato that I left out uncovered. You can see here, these leaves faced some significant damage from the 27 degree freeze we got last night. They're a little burn up, they're a little blackened, but if you look at the leaves that were up against the house, the flowers are totally fine. These leaves are totally fine. The fruit itself is actually in pretty decent shape. So it would appear that the house did a great job at keeping this portion of the plant warm. Now, as for my covered and lightly heated plants from the Christmas lights, you'll see these are all totally fine. Nice and green. The flower here is totally healthy. No damage at all. So it is also supposed to be 27 degrees tonight as well. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to use the heat of the Christmas lights and the heat of the brick on the house, as well as the frost blanket to keep everything warm. And eventually with these stakes that I put up, I'm going to make my life a little bit easier, and I'm going to wrap it in some greenhouse plastic and see how that works. It's November 29th, and I wanted to add a little bit of a bonus to this video. Last night was even colder than the night before. We hit 25 degrees, and this is reminiscent of a January cold front. This is 10 degrees below our January average. We only hit mid-40s yesterday as a high, and that's really unusual for here. So now we've gotten our first really hard frost along with a hard freeze. And I'll show you the damage that has caused. Everything out here has a coating of frost on it. My pineapple guava has been frosted on. So is my hardy orange. My strawberries look like they're covered in snow. The lawn is completely frosted. You can see the frost glistening off the roof. Oddly enough, right here, this tomato was able to avoid frost up against the house, but you can see the kind of damage it suffered now. It survived it survived the freeze from the night before, but I don't think it's going to make it through this one. It's in pretty bad shape right now. The oregano is frosted on, and so are my little Phoenix Theophrasti palms and my thyme. It's hardy German thyme, and you can see the frost that is on this frost blanket. So there's no way I'm going to pull this blanket off the tomatoes until we're comfortably above freezing. Here you can see a banana petal that actually has frozen water in it. So here are the results after the 25-degree freeze. They were covered with a simple frost blanket with some incandescent Christmas lights wrapped around the cages, using the heat of the brick as a radiator, and they sailed through the night with flying colors. No damage at all. The flower is still totally intact. No burn visible. And compare that again to my tomato that I left out uncovered, that I really don't want anymore. You can see it's burnt to a colorful crisp. So what we do know is, using this method, we're good until at least 25 degrees. So if you live in an environment where it doesn't get much colder than that, using this method to protect your tomato plants can give you tomato plants all winter long. As always, thank you all so much for watching. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel for regular updates. We'll see you again next time.